Now, to make sure that you understand the HTTP request data that we just created, what we did is basically the following. We created variables and we have sent values or the values of these variables to the HTTP request. Now, you can comment this line, then use this HTTP request data variable. And as you can see, without the variables, you can actually pass the data directly. So the API key here is this. This is our API key. And the sensor is the touch sensor that we already mentioned. Its location is at home office. And the values 1, 2, and 3 are these random values. This can be used for testing purposes. You can comment this and use this line. They both work the same, but if you have problems or if you are suspecting something, you can use this one for testing. Anyway, I will leave it to you if you wish. Now, to send the HTTP post request, we need to create an integer and call it HTTP response code equal HTTP dot post. Now the post will take this variable, the one that we created, the data, and it will send it through the HTTP. If you need an HTTP request with a content type text or plain, you can change the header, but this is something I won't recommend, because what we are doing here is more advanced. We are sending variables. Now I will add other ways to send, let's say text or plain text or JSON file to the HTTP request. But what we are doing here is simply sending sensor readings and variables. So you can stick to the content header that we created, which is basically application. And this is its type, www URL encoded. And this is the encoding part. Now, to make sure that our HTTP request did go and we don't have any error, we initialize an integer so that the result of this post request can be stored in this variable. Now, to check this variable, we need to ask using an if statement and else. Now, let's do this. Now the if statement will be if the HTTP response code is above 0. This means that we have sent data and we received a value above 0 as a response to the post request. In that case, we need to print on the serial monitor print HTTP response code, and we need to print the code to know if there is an issue. So write.print print out the response code. Now, otherwise, we need to copy these two. If the value isn't above 0, it means that there is an error. So in that case, we will use the else and we will say error code, and we will print the same code. At the end, we need to end our request. So we need to add HTTP end. This will end the HTTP request process, and we need to close this if. Now, else, as you can see, this is our if statement that we did close. Now, if the Wi-Fi is connected, it will do all of this. Otherwise, it will print that Wi-Fi is not connected. So we can write serial.print new line, and we can simply write Wi-Fi disconnected. After that, we need to make sure that we are not receiving data continuously. So let's remove this one. Okay, we need to add a delay. 30,000 milliseconds, which is basically 30 seconds. So this will tell our ESP to send an HTTP post request every 30 seconds to send sensor data. Now, as I already mentioned, I will post the code, but you have to edit the following lines. The first thing that you need to edit is the SSID and password. And the second thing that you need to edit is the server name, which is this one. And you also need to edit the API key. We did initialize the serial communication for debugging purposes. It's not something you have to do, but it's a good practice so that you can know if your code has errors. Now, after doing all of this, you can verify your code. We will check it. If there is errors, I will solve them now to make sure that we can upload this code. Okay, now the if statement is in capital. Let's edit this. Okay, now I think that we might have some spelling errors because I was writing as I was speaking and explaining, so this might happen. Okay, done compiling. Great, we don't have any errors. Now what you need to do is simply copy this code and paste it on your ESP, and we are going to do this in the next lesson to test out our coding and to make sure that the server receives the data and everything is working fine. That's it for this lesson. If you have any question, please ask in the Q&A board. Thanks for watching. This is Ashraf from Educational Engineering Team.